Hi, it's David again, and I just want to do a quick video on how you know when you speak to Mormons that they're agreeing with you. It's tricky. It's it's very tricky because they do speak another language, and you'll not see these things in their manuals. You'll not see these things in their policies and their procedures. The Mormon Church, probably 85% teachings in the Mormon Church is under the radar. The public cannot find it, they cannot see it, and all the public can do is look at something like me, big ugly old guy that says, hey, I was there for 50 years, man. I wasn't excommunicated. I worked in the temple. I've been elders quorum in a presidency and state presidency, and I'm telling you the truth, but you'll never see it. You'll never see it unless you join them, and after 5 or 6 or 10 years, then they'll tell you more and more of the truth, that they're under the radar and that they believe these things and they live these things. But we keep this from the public because we know the public will go bullshit if they really knew what we believed. So let me tell you how Mormons have this secret phraseology. I'm going to use a new word here, phraseology, that when you confront them, or not even confront, I don't want to get into like a debate issue. It's just when you say to a Mormon something that is factual, that is undisputably factual, they have certain phrases that they have been taught under the radar to speak, to defend or to deflect your question or your comment. For instance, I'm going to give you number one here that I can remember off the top of my head, and that is if you say something to a Mormon like, Joseph Smith was married to two 14-year-old girls. Isn't that child molestation? Do you believe that we should marry 14-year-old girls to a 38, 39-year-old man? They'll say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's the cult. There's the subliminal training of a cult to handle problems that are really not problems to Mormons. They're problems to normal people, but anyone that's in the cult will say, oh, that doesn't matter. And you step back and go, it doesn't? You think it's okay? It doesn't matter. They're trained just like a soda machine. You put $1 in, the soda comes out. You put $1 in, the soda comes out. So these phrases are subliminally programmed, which cults do, to defend the faith and to defend who these people are. So when they say it doesn't matter, it means they're agreeing with you. That, yeah, he did marry two 14-year-olds, and I think it's outrageous, but I can't say so, so my mind will click into the automatic mode. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, let me give you another one. Okay, no matter what you say to him, say, well, Brigham Young appears to be in charge of that Mountain Meadows, 120 people being slaughtered in Washington County down there in behalf of the Mormon Church, men, women, and children shot defenselessly. I know the church is true. And you'll look at him and you go, what the hell does that have to do with what I'm discussing? You're way off the topic. That's what they're trained to do, to be off the topic and not to address the issue. Did Brigham Young order 120 men, women, and children defenseless, that the Mormons took their guns away and promised them free passage, safe passage, and then shot them? I know the church is true. See, there's that subliminal training again, and when you hear that phrase, you know darn well they agree with you, and they know on their cognitive side of the brain that what you're saying is true, but on the, I have a feeling, the testimony's burning in my bosom feeling, they're trained to say, I know the church is true. I know Joseph Smith was a true prophet. Those phrases are just common phrases when they're confronted. Now here's one that just makes me laugh and laugh. And of course, reading about the Mormon Church and studying it is more hilarity than you'll ever get anywhere else in the world. They say this. You say, well, there was a couple of times that Wilford Woodruff, he wrote to the U.S. government and said they weren't practicing polygamy, and they were. And John Taylor was too. And when you say that to a Mormon, they will simply say to you, if I follow evil leaders, I will be blessed. If the leaders lie, cheat, and steal, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I've been promised by those leaders who are lying, cheating, and stealing that I'm going to go to Mormon heaven. I'm going to go to Mormon heaven. So I think of this example. If you have an evil leader that's standing on a cliff and he or she is pointing down and say, jump, jump. It'll be a test and I promise you, you'll be okay. And you jump and gravity is the truth and you bounce on the bottom and die, that's a blessing. To Mormons, they've been taught in that cult behavior and activity that they don't have any right to question or to believe that evil leaders are going to be a source of denial of blessings. It's just not going to happen. Now, one of the things that they do in the temple is they take a temple covenant in their temples that says they will not have light-mindedness or loud laughter. So, in other words, no humor, no fun in life, and no ill speaking of the Lord's anointed. So if anybody is in a higher position than you are, or even in a lower position than you are, this phrase covers everything, that you just shut your mouth. You don't think, you don't question, you don't answer, you just smile and say, it doesn't matter. I know the church is true. Even if he is a bad leader, even if he's a wicked, even if Joseph Smith lied, I know the church is true because I have a feeling. Well, there you are, the subliminal training of a cult. Okay, another one you'll get is you'll say to a person, well, why is your church building a $5 billion mall in downtown Salt Lake City when all that extra money they could have used to feed poor people? And the Mormons are trained on that particular comment to say, well, the church is perfect. It's the people that are not perfect. Okay, so here's your Goodyear tire factory. And you're riding on Goodyear tires and they blow up and kill your family. And so the attorneys for the Goodyear company say, well, the Goodyear factory is true and it's perfect, but it's the people that manufactured that tire that killed your family. Somehow that brings Mormons comfort. That somehow brings them comfort. That the church is perfect. The church never makes a mistake. It never apologizes. It never is wrong. It's always the people. So it's kind of like their heads are going to roll. In the Mormon church, many heads roll because the church is true, but the people are not perfect. And so therefore, the product that the people are of the Mormon church, the church is able to just have their heads roll and go, see, the church is still perfect, but that person got excommunicated. So that's one of their funny phrases too. The other one is when you say, well, you know, this one got married and then got divorced, and this one had a temple sealing and didn't get any children, and then the children were given to the mother in the divorce, but they're still sealed to the father, and you give them this doctrine that is like tentacles of 19 million octopuses all tied together. The Mormons are trained to say that will all be changed and fixed in the millennium. What if there isn't a millennium? Well, then it never would be fixed. So they're all trained to go, we don't know what the answer to those questions are, but we know that Jesus is a Mormon. He wears our garment underwear, magic underwear, and when he comes to the earth, he's going to fix all this stuff. We can screw up as much as we want, but Jesus is a God, and he'll fix it during the millennium. So that's another one of their magic cult answers. It'll all be fixed in the millennium. Another way, and they'll say, let me give you an example where they say, well, you know, there's a lot of people that are starving on the earth, and 6,000 children a night die on this planet from starvation. Why are you building a mall with that money rather than helping some people just buy some rice and stay alive? Well, here's the phrase that they're trained on that kind of a thing to say. God's ways are not our ways. I have to agree with them. If God was in charge, he would not let those people starve to death and build a Jesus mall. But they're very quick. When you confront them, you know they're agreeing with you, and you know they know cognitively that you're right, but subliminally they're programmed to say, well, God's ways are not our ways. and our ways are not God's ways. So that's another subliminal training. You'll not see it in the manual. They don't teach it. They teach it under the radar where the governments and the press and the public can't see that. The other one is where you'll say to a Mormon, gee, you know, I understand that you were active and maybe you're a stake president and you have a beautiful family and a wonderful job and a big house and a big car. The Lord has certainly blessed your family, hasn't he? And being a Mormon has made your life good. Yes, yes, yes. Well, the next day he backs out over his 2-year-old and kills her. So you say to the stake president, well, gee, you know, you had all these blessings and now your child is dead. Your child is dead. So, what's he trained to say? I'm being tested. I'm being tested. See, anything that goes wrong in a person's life, if they're a Mormon, they're being tested. It's not wrong. It's just that they need further testing. Testing for what? I don't know. Testing to believe that, you know, it was God's will to run over the 2-year-old girl. They will say, well, that's just a test. That's just a test. I have all these other blessings, and that one there is just a test. So, again, there's your subliminal training on that one. We're being tested. If you hit them on their doctrine or their history and things that the historians have written down, even their historians have written down, and you confront them. For instance, Brigham Young said that if you marry a black person and have any children, mixing those genes together and those races together, that you should be killed, and all of the children should be killed from that relationship. Well, that's a true statement. We know that that's a true statement. But when you present that to an active Mormon who is actively engaged in the cult, they will say, that's a mistranslation. And you'll say, well, it's right here. No, that's a mistranslation. You look too much at the internet and you look too much at, and they'll turn their heads and they'll shun that. You know they're agreeing with you. You know they know. This is the secret of learning the Mormon subculture and phraseology that they use to go, I know that's true, but I don't want to look at it because if I do, I'll be punished and I'm scared, I'm fearful in the cult. There it is. There's another secret phrase and secret passage doctrine that they're trained to say, you know, that's a mistranslation. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. It is what he said. Then they can simply say, it's not true. Say to them, well, you know, your temple ceremony before 1999, you talked about slitting your throats and deboweling yourself as a punishment for saying anything about the temple. That's not true. That's not true. Well, if they've been to the temple after 1999, it isn't true now, but it was true. And they don't want to hear that, and they are trained to go, well, that's not true. That's not true. The temple ceremony doesn't have those kind of punishments. Well, they did when I went to the temple. I was there. I saw it. Also, anything you bring to their attention, and another way that you know they are agreeing with you, is that if you say something, they're going to say, well, that's anti-Mormon doctrine, and the internet has many, many liars on it. And when Google gets you 9 million hits on Mormons and cults in a third of a second, they believe all those people are evil, because Mormons believe if you don't agree with them, you are evil. You are anti-Mormon. They also believe that anyone like me that leaves the church had to leave it because I'm a negative person and I'm not willing to live their cult standards and I'm excommunicated. It's not true. The other thing is that if you get caught with a Mormon and you say, well, gee, Brigham Young said this, and they'll say, well, we don't follow the old prophets. We just follow the new prophets. And so they're able to shift and change. So when you're talking to a Mormon, look for these phrases, look for these agreements, and understand this is under the radar. This is a religion that is very secretive. Thank you very much.